Okay, so first of all, happy Father's Day to everybody who has a human child, a fur child, is a father figure to others. However you may show up in the world as a father, happy Father's Day. And Ranger making an appearance. So today, so excited, we're talking about generators. And generators, I'm a little bit jealous of. So as I've mentioned before, generators are have the potential to have sustainable energy. So they have within the body chart, within the place that looks kind of like a person with a bunch of shapes in it, there's something called the sacral, which is the second square from the bottom. When that has color in it, when it's colored in, it's called defined, and that makes a generator. So that is essentially the generator within the generator, in the sense that you have the capacity and the potential to have sustainable energy, but it doesn't automatically mean that you do have sustainable energy. So if you're a generator and you're like, but I'm tired all the time, I feel super depleted and burnt out, great. You're not using it right. And so that gives you it gives you information to understand, okay, cool, I'm not feeding it with the right fuel. So now I can start to understand and to look into start changing what I am feeding it with. So what you're meant to feed your generator with are things that are things that you love and that light you up. So if you have a job that you absolutely love, well, you can probably do that job all day long and like into the night with no problem. If you have a job that you don't love, or the environment you don't love, whatever it is, then you might find that you find yourself really frustrated, you find yourself depleted of energy, and you might be saying, like, excuse me, you said that I have sustainable energy and I do not. So something that you can kind of use to understand if you are, or not if you are a generator, but if you're feeding it with the right fuel, is when you're engaged in activities that give you energy. So when you're in the midst of doing it, you feel like you could do it for hours and hours and hours because it's like giving you energy. That's something that you're supposed to spend your time on. Now, the things that you are doing that are depleting you of energy are just going to essentially make your life harder, because your strategy, so again, the strategy is how we kind of best interact with the world around us and how we open that up so that things can flow a lot easier. The strategy for a generator is to respond. So there is some waiting, right? Manifestors are the only ones that are can go out and just do it. Everybody else has some kind of waiting built into their strategy. And for a generator, waiting to respond means that you're waiting for things to come into your sphere in order for you to respond to them. So it doesn't have to be a question. It doesn't have to be like where a projector, right? A projector is waiting for that invitation. There's something... Sorry, that's Richard. There's something more formal about that invitation that you kind of have to wait for. Whereas for a generator, it just has to come within your sphere. So it could be something that you overhear somebody talking about, or you see something on social media that gets you excited, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be somebody coming to you and recognizing you or asking you or, giving you something to respond to in that way. It just has to be something coming at you within your sphere in order for you to respond to it. Now, the way that you respond to it is using that sacral. So your sacral is going to give you a visceral response, whether it's overwhelming feeling going on inside of you, whether it's like you sit up straighter in your chair, you actually say something like, oh, that sounds really exciting, or you kind of maybe you shrink a little bit, or you're like, ooh, that does not sound good. Whatever that is, you have some kind of visceral response that then you use in order to follow, in order to stay on your path and to be on the path that is with the least resistance. So if somebody around you is playing tennis and your body's kind of ooh, that doesn't feel good, you're like, okay, cool, that doesn't light me up. And the best thing for a generator and for a manifesting generator are to ask them, yes or no questions. Open-ended questions are not helpful for them, and it's probably just going to lead to their not self theme, which is frustration. They need, They need the multiple choice. They need yes, no coming at them, right? The questions kind of coming at them in order for their body to be able to respond to it. And they are meant to follow what their body is telling them to do. So if their body says, no, you don't want to go out to dinner tonight, then you say, okay, no, thank you. Or if your body's like, yes, you do want to go horseback riding, then you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to go try that and we'll see what happens. But the more that you can get in tune with what your body is saying, the more that you are going to find yourself with the ease and flow that you're probably looking for. But the more that you go against it, or maybe you don't even know what it is. You're like, I shut it down so long ago that I don't even know what it feels like. I don't know what my yes or no response is within my body. Cool. Now this is your opportunity to get to figure it out. So having other people ask you questions and then getting in tune and trying to feel it out within your body of like, okay, what is it saying? And then, make a journal or notes or something and say, this was the decision, or this was the thing. I felt this, I did this, and this was the outcome. And that way you get to build your trust muscle as you go along, as well as figuring out what yours is within you. And as you get to know that and you start to trust it more, then it's not as scary to have it happen. It's not as scary to rely on it because it's proven to you and to everything else that what it has to say is true for you. It is good. And it can be scary, right? If you're a vegetarian and somebody's like, hey, do you want to get a steak? And all of a sudden you feel your body being like, yes, I do want that. You're like, no, like that can't be true because I don't believe in it and I don't eat meat and da-da-da-da. But it doesn't mean you like have to go eat meat. But it just is telling you that actually is something innately that is true for you. Whatever that yes is or whatever that no is. So the more that you can get in touch with that and the more the rest of us can give generators and manifesting generators yes or no or multiple choice type of questions versus like, what do you want to do today? That can be such an overwhelming question for them. And generators are about 35% of the world. So they're a much bigger portion. And manifesting generators who operate essentially as a generator also, just with some differences later on, they're essentially 35-ish% of the population. Them together are 70% of the population. So this is the majority of the world that doesn't do well with open-ended questions and needs that yes or no and needs the things to come at you. So it's not about you going out and trying to figure out what you love and what lights you up. It's more about getting really clear on what are the things that you have said yes to in your life that are truly no's. So if you made a list of all of the no's that you've put your energy towards, how can you now create an exit plan out of those? Because the more that you're committing your energy to things that are no, less that there's space for yeses to come in. So if you're full of no's and you're like, but what the heck? Like, I'm living through my response, but like there's nothing coming in. The universe is like, yeah, because you're clogged with all the no's. There's no space for a yes to come through. Like you have so much like other stuff going on that there's no room for a yes to come through. So you have to do your part first and get rid of the no's as much as you can. So create that exit plan and figure out, okay, what are some of like the smaller no's that are going to be really easy to just get out of here versus some of the bigger no's that maybe will take a lot longer for me to get out of. And the more that you create that space, the more that the universe will then start bringing you and sending you things to respond to. Now, don't think just because something's in front of you, it's an automatic yes. No. Because something's in front of you is an opportunity for your body to say yes or no. So don't think, well, if this thing's like presenting this opportunity to me, then it must be a yes. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. And it's like, no, it's there for you to say yes or no to it. And are you going to commit energy to something that is a no? Or are you only going to commit your energy to things that are yeses? And start to cultivate and create your life around yeses versus around no's. So I said the not self theme of a generator is frustration, which can also look like lack of flow or like a frustration of energy or like feeling blah about life. Generators are meant to be super sparkly. And if you're not sparkly, then there's something that you've said yes to that is a no. And then your signpost, your signature, so your signpost that you're doing it, that things you're in the flow, you're doing the thing, is satisfaction. So it's that feeling of being satisfied. Whatever that feels like for you, that's your signpost that says you're doing it. So those are the two that you're always going to be flipping back and forth between. And it just gives you the opportunity to take a step back and say, okay, did I try to initiate something? Did I say yes to a no? Or like what happened that potentially brought up this frustration? And there's a million other things within a chart. I mean, if you look at it, it can be like just super overwhelming. But there's a million other things within a chart that can also help you in determining, okay, where did I potentially go wrong and why frustration potentially came up this time? But this just gives you a place to start. So hopefully this was helpful. I love generators. They're so sparkly, and just the fact that you have the capacity to have such sustainable energy is so beautiful to me. And I just can't imagine it because it's just not part of my design, and I am not built to have sustainable energy, and that's okay. I am built to have it and then to rest when I don't need to have it anymore. So happy Father's Day, and I hope everybody has an amazing day, and I will talk to you guys maybe tomorrow. Okay.